Some things are in our power and others are not. Beliefs, preferences, desires, and dislikes. In short, everything that is related to our actions is in our power. On the other hand, the body, wealth, fame, authorities, in short, everything that is not related to our actions is out of our power. This is how the Handbook, or Guide to Life of the famous Greek philosopher begins. If you want to live a satisfying life without too much emotional distress, you must understand that there are things in your power and others that are not. Our duty is to focus our energy on what is in our command and ignore what is not. One of the biggest problems a human being can face is the opinions and judgments of other people. It's almost impossible to avoid being affected negatively or positively by them. If you really want to avoid being affected, you must understand that the opinions of others, insults, or any kind of personal attack are not in your power. In the Handbook of Life, we learn how to act in the case of being the target of an offense. Therefore, the goal of this video is to extract the lessons from the famous Handbook of Life in order to achieve a mental state that allows us to reduce or eliminate all kinds of suffering caused by the judgments of others through 7 lessons or principles extracted from Epictetus's Handbook of Life. You will learn why you shouldn't worry about external feelings and how to achieve a state where opinions cannot hurt you. If you're new here, consider subscribing so you don't miss out on all the valuable content we're preparing for you. Number 1. Criticism or rejection. Epictetus says, "Remember that he who criticizes or rejects is not criticized, but rather his own judgment that these actions are hurtful. Therefore, if someone hurts you, keep in mind that it's your own opinion that is troubling you in the first place. Try not to be influenced by appearances, for once you gain time and calm down, it will be easier to control yourself." One of the keys to not caring about the opinions of others is to understand that the criticism or rejection is not inherently harmful. The emotional pain that accompanies the criticism actually comes from how we process that criticism. When someone undermines you or disrespects you, think that this criticism will only harm you if you allow it. If you react negatively, the true worth of a person should be measured by how much they can endure negativity. Unfortunately, life is like that. When you feel criticized or rejected, ask yourself, do I want to win or lose? Do I want to succumb to what I cannot control? Let me draw a parallel with Stoicism and pleasures. If we want to stop being influenced by them, we must not fight against desire, for desire will never disappear. The difference lies in how we process that desire, if we completely give in to it or ignore it. In this way, if you manage not to be disturbed by the criticism, the satisfaction you will feel afterwards will make you someone superior and capable of advancing firmly through adversity. Surely you're thinking of that time when a negative comment ruined your day or week despite your efforts. Let me tell you that I understand how you feel, as everyone has been in that situation at some point. If this is your case, I recommend you keep watching, as in the next principles we'll address self-control. Number 2. Maintain strong intentions. In this principle, we must understand that if we want to avoid being affected by the opinions of others, it's as follows. If you have the strong intention of understanding philosophy, prepare yourself from the start to be ridiculed and suffer mockery from the crowd. Prepare to hear people say, "Suddenly, he became a philosopher," or "Where does this arrogant attitude come from?" Make sure not to adopt that arrogant attitude and stay strong in things that contribute to your well-being. Remember, if you remain steadfast in your position, the same people who used to ridicule you will end up admiring you. But if you let yourself be persuaded by others, you'll be ridiculed twice. Those who wanted to become philosophers. But even if you don't want to become a philosopher, this principle proposed by the Greek can be applied to any other aspect of our lives. This principle is essential, as many people neglect their true talents just to please dissenting voices. What Epictetus tells us is that if we allow our intention to be influenced by the fear of others' opinions, we won't fail because we tried and didn't succeed, but because we yielded to the opinions of others. We shouldn't interpret this as a failure, but as a real problem. When a person gives up just to avoid social conflicts or to prevent others from giving their opinion about them, it's worth persevering, even if there is mockery or questioning for a while. After all, by moving forward, you'll be living according to your own nature. I recommend you think about this whenever you need to make a decision in your life. Consider your priorities and understand the true reason behind your choices. Number 3, don't let others' opinions affect you. Don't be afraid of being rejected or ignored by anyone, for if being accepted were a good thing, then others would have the power to make us happy, and that's not how it works. The truth is that you are only responsible for things that are under your control, and that depend on your choices. This principle is very important in our times. How many times have you done something you really didn't like to impress someone else, especially on social media? Social approval on these platforms can be like a trap for a person. We should ask ourselves, is it worth losing our authenticity just to get a little praise? Is it worth putting our emotional health in the hands of others? My answer is clear. No. I suggest you think about this, as we've all been caught doing something that makes us uncomfortable, but isn't harmful at some point. Why care if they mock you or exclude you from their popularity circle? Do you really think your happiness depends on how popular you are? If you live like that, you'll be in constant struggle, as your happiness isn't in your hands. Therefore, you'll live in a constant state of stress, changing your essence not to lose status. One of the main points of Stoicism is to care only about what is under your control and become indifferent to what isn't. Regarding insults, remember that nobody can hurt you unless you let them. If someone harms you or speaks ill of you, remember that they act believing that they are right to do so. It's not possible for everyone to act according to what you consider right, but not to them. So if someone judges you based on a false appearance, it's them who harm themselves with their error. Therefore, tolerate the person who insults you with patience and repeat to yourself, that's just their opinion. Number 4, exercise strong self-control. For an insult to become an offense, as Epictetus said, we must have the same respect for our mind as we do for our body. I'm sure you wouldn't let a stranger enter your home every day knowing the danger that would pose. Yet, when we receive an insult and take it as an offense, we let that person enter our mind and stay there for a few days, because then we let strangers into our mind when we would never let them into our homes. To achieve a state where we ignore the negative feelings caused by an offense, discipline and self-control must be developed. Apply this to all situations in life, including with family. When you're angry, control that emotion, as it will prevent much unnecessary pain and make you feel more at peace with yourself. Trust me, this will make a big difference in your life. Number 5, act according to your best judgment. We shouldn't be ashamed of being seen acting according to our values, even if others may form a wrong idea of what we're doing. If we're acting correctly, why fear others' wrong judgment? This also applies to the use of social media, where we often let our happiness depend on popularity or validation from others. This leads us to act to please them instead of following our path. Number 6, don't let someone's bad words affect you. If someone hurts you or says something nasty about you, remember that they act based on what they think is right. But you can't expect everyone to act according to your standards, not theirs. So if they are judging from a false impression, they are only harming themselves with their error. Based on these principles, endure the person who judges you with patience. And on each of these occasions, tell yourself, number 7, no one can harm you. Through this 7th principle, we examine the intention of the sender of the insult. And what it tells us is that we can't assume everyone will act according to what you believe is right or according to your worldview. Thinking like this can be very damaging. We should consider the following question. Is it really realistic to think that everyone has the same worldview as you? Thinking like this is quite foolish. Therefore, if someone insults you, thinking they know the truth about you, deeply reflect on the following. You know who you are. You know what you think. You know why you act and why you do what you do. The only knower of the truth about you is yourself. So in the case of a stranger insulting you in some way, you must ask yourself the following. Did I act wrongly? If the answer is no, ask yourself, can I read their mind and understand the reason for the insult? It's obvious that you can't. Therefore, in the case of having acted correctly and facing ignorance about the motivation of the insult, you should be happy as you are the person in the world who knows yourself best. In the case of having acted correctly, you shouldn't carry the weight of regret. As Epictetus said regarding the person who insults you, that's how it seemed to them. To conclude, I would like to end with the following lesson from Epictetus. How much longer do you think you'll delay becoming worthy of the highest improvement and following the teachings of reason? You have already received the philosophical principles with which you should be familiar. What other master are you waiting for to begin improving? You are no longer a teenager, but an adult. So, if you continue careless, lazy, and constantly postponing things, adding excuse after excuse and putting off the day you will dedicate to yourself, life will pass by while you remain ignorant until the day of your death. I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something new. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Join us on the journey of wisdom. Peace.